Ladies and gentlemen, Prime Me is back. Ever since our return to chess, I've played 5 games. 4 wins, 1 loss. I'm not going to post all of them. And in my 4 wins, each game has been above 90% accuracy. And my loss was just a big blunder and a time scramble. I've just finished playing a masterclass of a positional game where, we had a pretty bland opening, but I managed to turn it into a very special positional game, and I'm very excited to show you guys what I have created. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so in this game I played against Comande Carlos from Venezuela, who I outrated by 85 points at the start of the game. After this, I'm just one game away from being 2100. I'm going to show you the accuracy score at the end of the video. Like I said, we had a pretty bland opening. I opened up with my English opening, pawn to c4. Now my opponent plays the move pawn to c5. This is a symmetrical variation. A lot of times black plays like this, just to kind of try to get like an easy game. Actually, in this game, my opponent doesn't just copy like my moves, like for 7 moves, kind of like how a lot of times they do it. Like, they would play like here, like just copy you until you play d4 here, and then maybe they'll do something else. Even then, it's still fine for them to copy you. And my win rate against this opening is actually really good. Like, I can't recall a time that I lose in tournament chess with this opening. I can't even recall a time that I draw. I think I'm probably 3-0 in tournament chess, like over the board tournament chess against this opening. And I don't know what it is, because it's very drawish, but it just leads to very simple positional games, and I'm very good at it. Maybe that's just like my bread and butter opening. So, okay, here my opponent copies me for a little bit. This is what you do. You like to fianchetto the bishop, very commonly in the English. And here, instead of copying me, my opponent plays this move pawn to e6. And here I decide to think for a little bit, because I realized that if I kind of do what I wanted to do, like just go castle, now I realize my opponent can get the move pawn to d5 on the board. And I didn't really see what I was going to do after this. But computer says I can actually play d4 here, which is kind of crazy. Idea being, after this, I go knight b5. It is actually a pretty good opening to consider. But what if my opponent takes like this? Oh, then I go knight. Oh, okay. And then this position is winning. Oh, wow. So, yeah, okay. So, now learn something new. Yeah, so it's actually fine to castle against this, but I kind of don't know that. And if you don't know that at, not a master level, you're just going to play pawn to e3. I spent, I thought for, maybe a little over 30 seconds on this move. Idea is, now after d5, I thought I could play d4 without, losing the pawn, because I would be able to, take back with the knight. And once again, this would just lead to a very symmetrical and almost, boring opening, but I have a really good win rate in it. So, of course, it's fine. Now, okay, after e3, my opponent decides to play knight g7, kind of to try to build up this push. Now I decide that's going to be fine for me to castle my king. He castles as well, not wanting to commit yet. Of course, very fine move. And now I simply play d4. Now, the very nice thing that I like about playing the English opening is that in many lines, the opening just kind of plays itself. It's not like an e4 line where there's super sharp stuff. There are also after c4, e5, very sharp lines. But the position kind of plays itself for me here. But it also kind of plays itself for black. Black is just simply going to go d5. There's a lot of different ideas here. You might maybe be able to try to go knight f5 in the future. You might try to play h5. Maybe you'll go b6 here. Maybe you'll even develop your bishop here, try to attack my pawn. A lot of different ideas here for black. Of course, he kind of has to take here. He can also probably strike back with d5. But it doesn't really look so good, right? Because if he plays d5 here, after this, bishop d2, I'm already doing quite nice, because it looks like this pawn is going to be very weak. My pawn is weak as well. For example, if he goes here, now I can go knight e4, computer says, and he can't take. I'm attacking. I can maybe go bishop c3 after. He has to come back. But now probably bishop c3 is a fine move. And it's already very nice for me. So instead he just goes takes. Knight takes d4. And now, after takes, and d5, I feel like I have to take here, of course. E takes d5. And now is the first time that the position is kind of interesting. There are a lot of different lines here. I play bishop f4, which is actually the best move, but bishop g5 is also another very good consideration. Computer also calls it a best move. Like, all of these moves are fine. The thing that I didn't like about this is that even though I'm trying to put pressure on the knight and then take, I didn't think that f6 weakened his position too much. And I also thought, now if I come back, he can play g5. And now I thought I just giving him space, and I didn't really see how this weakened his position. This does actually block his bishop from the attack on my pawn, but I didn't really think that my pawn was ever going to get too weak. I thought I would be able to easily defend it, and I didn't see how I was going to put pressure on this pawn anymore. Even though, actually, I guess queen b3 and, like, rook e1 now, if, like, so the bishop can't come here. So, yeah, I guess this actually would be good for me to play, to provoke, because now, you know, if the bishop is on e6, you don't have, like, a f7 pawn to protect it. That's also another line to consider. Rook e1, 2, of course. Whatever. I play bishop f4, just kind of trying to take control of the diagonal. It looks a little bit weird because it's not really defending the pawn. It doesn't really have anywhere to go. Like, it's not going to go to e5. But with the help of, like, a move like rook e1, bishop to e5 is definitely possible. He plays bishop e6 now, and now I go queen d2. I didn't really want to go queen d3 because now I thought in some, like, variations he could just go bishop f5. So I thought queen d2 was fine, with the idea of maybe trying to trade off this dark squared bishop, which is attacking my pawn, for this dark squared bishop which isn't really doing anything. And now my opponent plays queen b6. This move kind of not really scared me, but it made me think a little bit because, yeah, it made me think for about 1 minute and 15 seconds to be exact. And here you need to defend the pawn, obviously, so you can go rook fd1 or rook a1. Now, the thing about rook a1 is that if you play this, then you're not really going to be able to get a rook on the c file so easily because you're going to have to move it, and then this pawn might be under pressure, so it's not going to be pleasant. But the thing about rook fd1 is that it's going to be the same thing. You're not going to really be able to move this rook in a lot of lines, and if you ever want to move it to the e file. So it's kind of a question of, you want the c file or the e file? Ultimately, I chose to move this rook because I thought that I wouldn't really ever have to go on the e file because the bishop is anchored here quite nicely. And I thought, like, if he could double up his rooks here, and maybe even some lines play rook c5, I would want to be able to challenge that. Ultimately, later in the game, as you will see, I will have to put the rook back on e1 anyway, so it would actually just be better for me to move this rook here. But, I mean, of course, both moves are fine, but rook to a1 would be the better option. Actually, this isn't even the best move here. The best move here is bishop e5. Well, actually, the computer said rook a1 was one of the best moves, but this just looks really wrong. But I guess you get knight e4. Yeah, and then you can go here. Okay, actually, this position might have been worth going for. Like, look how scary this is for black. I mean, I can even get a knight to d6, f5 in some lines, maybe. Okay, yeah, so maybe this was also worth going for, actually. But I just, like, I didn't really calculate much. I thought that, you know, he would go, like, here. I mean, takes, and then the pawn push, and it's just bad for me. Okay, but after rook fd1, rook fd8. I'm kind of confused because I don't really see what's, like, there's not a clear plan here. Like, of course, you know, maybe like an 1800 level player would just, like, put a rook on the c file. But the problem with this move is that it doesn't really do anything. And actually here there's a much stronger option, which I find after a little bit of thought. I spent about another minute on knight to a4. And the reason that this move is so potent is that the queen doesn't really have a good square to go, and the knight is going to c5. For example, the queen can't, I didn't really think the queen could go here, because now I thought I'd go here attacking this and this, so, I mean, it just felt wrong for him to do that. I thought that after queen b5, I would be able to play knight c5 and then play bishop f1 even in some lines, because this pawn is pretty well defended, and kick the queen out, like, yet again. It would have to go back to e1, then maybe this pawn would be hanging in some lines. So the queen goes to c6, but now I get knight c5, and now I thought if he kicks me out, which is the best move, also, like, this is fine, but after this, I thought I would just take anyway. I didn't really think it would be good for him to do this, because now I thought I can put a rook on c1 and threaten some stuff. Actually, it's not a clear threat here, because after, like, rook c1, it's like, where do I go to, like, attack this queen and win something? I can't really. But, like, for example, after this, I could go, like, knight here, and then after the queen moves somewhere, I'll just reroute my knight and get a really good knight in the e5 square. So there's definitely a lot to play for here. And after b6, knight takes e6. what do you take with? Because here my opponent takes in a way that I immediately recognize as awful, and I play perfectly from this point on. I play literally perfect. Okay, I have 1 inaccuracy from this point on. All the rest are best. I have like 90% best moves and great moves after this point. He takes with the F pawn, which is a horrible move. Now, I get it. Maybe he wanted to un-isolate his pawn. But after the queen takes, this pawn is very well defended. And I'm still going to be playing for more, obviously, because now I'm going to go like rook here, pressure his knight, maybe go here to pressure more, like bait some f6 stuff. But at the end of the day, taking on f takes e6 is horrible because this pawn is a backwards pawn now, and it is so weak. It's also very easy to target with moves like knight h3. Sorry, not knight h3, bishop h3. The only problem with a move like bishop h3 is that his knight could go to like here. But here I decide to first kick this queen because actually, once again, the queen has like nowhere good to go. It can't really go over here. If it goes here, there's this. So he ultimately has to go queen e8. And it's just much better to go like rook e1 now because I thought, after this, now I'm just kicking his queen into a worse position, and I have presence on the file. Now I go rook e1. Computer says it's an inaccuracy because it actually thinks that if I just double up here, it's just very, very strong for me. Now, personally, I would disagree because the whole thing that you should play for here in black's position is this pawn because it's so unbelievably weak. And I knew that after I went rook e1, it was going to be very hard for him to defend. Because here, I thought that he practically has to go with knight f5. Because if he goes here, I thought that now, for example, a move like bishop g5 would be winning. Right? Because, let's say he moves. Right? Now I take. If he moves here, bishop takes. So, already, he has to go like here, maybe. And now, I thought I can just go whatever, like rook c3, computer says. And if he takes the pawn, now go rook d3, and I'm threatening to take because of this pin. And I'm just crushing here. I'm completely crushing because I can take with the bishop too, or the rook, threaten discovery on this rook. The bishop here is glorious, and I would be winning. So instead he plays knight f5, but here, obviously, you just go bishop e5 once again. And now this pawn is very well defended. And the bishop does block, right? It does block the rook side of the pawn. And here he actually has to go with this. And actually I have to come back. Because I thought here what I would do is play f4. And it wouldn't be too weakening to my position. I could maybe sacrifice in some lines. The bishop here is a beast. But instead he went with this. And now I actually just have a very simple tactic. I go take, takes. And now this rook, which was here before, previously adding a layer of defense to this pawn, is no longer there. And utilizing this pin, I can take. And here I thought that the only way that he could really continue playing for anything, or making it kind of difficult for me, is if he actually just sacrificed. And even though I'm completely winning here, I thought that he might be able to try to do something here, like go here and possibly, convert. But even though actually this is according to the evaluation board, this is a lot worse for black than what he did in the game, I felt like this was going to be the most scary line for me. But, of course, I think I would still win there, 97% of the time. Instead, he went queen d7. And now I just decided to come back to b3. You don't really want to come back here because there's nothing on this diagonal for you anymore. You want to go to b3 because you want to pressure this pinned pawn on the king. And now if he just does nothing, or actually, yeah, let's say he does nothing, like h5, right? I'm just going to start to attack the pawn. I'm going to probably go like d5, right, if he takes. Now I go bishop takes, whatever, here, and now I can start checking him already. If he goes over here, it's checkmate in one. So, it's just completely winning here. And he goes rook d8, which is a move. You want to attack the pawn. Here I thought about just going here, and after this, going for this line. But here I didn't really think that I was winning enough, because I thought that he could go here, and after this, for example, takes, he could, just get into, this endgame here with me. because I can't really do anything about the pawn trade over here. He could just get into this endgame where he has 2, I have 3, but this is a theoretical draw, and even though, of course, white has a lot more winning chances, and honestly sufficient winning chances, you never want to go into this position because it is a theoretical draw, especially in, you know, such like long time controls. So instead, I decided to here play rook to e4, which I thought was a very nice move, simply just to defend the pawn. And I didn't really see what he was going to do here. Like, I had no idea. He can't go knight f5 because this pawn falls. I thought he might like want to go here. But after this move, I already thought that I would just be able to start checking. If this, I can already play g4, I thought. And yeah, if he goes here, now I thought, yeah, now I can just play d5, actually. And I'm completely crushing. I could probably even sacrifice my rook in some lines and just still be completely winning. That's how good my position is here. And ultimately, he plays h6, which I don't know. Maybe it was a misclick. Maybe he wanted to play h5 because this is actually just a free pawn. After queen f7, queen e3, I am kind of scared here. Like, I should not spend 1 minute on this move. I was a little bit worried about knight f5 here, but now after knight f5, I thought I would just go here. And after this, I take back with the pawn, and now I just thought I'm up 3 pawns in a rook endgame. Of course, this is winning. So, yeah, I spent a little bit too much time. At the end of the game, I got down into, like, not really time trouble, but I just had 3 minutes left, which you want to kind of leave yourself more time to convert, because when you're up, like, 3 pawns in, like, an endgame, for example, the only way you could lose is if you have low time and you, like, do something stupid. So here, I thought that I could already just, like, try my best. Like, I thought d5 would be like a very nice try to win. For example, after this, knight takes e8, I saw this line, but I was like a little worried because I thought the queen was attacking the pawn. I thought that if I go here, now he goes like queen d1 and starts maybe I can obviously escape perpetual, but he might be able to win some pawns. And I didn't really like how active his queen was. Like, I can't really check him forever, right? Because then it's just gonna be like a drawn by repetition. So okay, I can actually get my queen back into a good spot, though. And, yeah, I mean, actually, here I would be fine. Yeah, here this is actually just completely winning. I probably should have gone for this. But instead, I decided to play g4. And I spent a lot of time on this move. I spent, like, a third of my time, almost. How much is that? 2 minutes and 20 seconds on g4. The point is, I wanted here to play rook e5, but I thought knight f5 would be quite strong here. Because I thought that, oh wow, I thought after this, he could go rook takes. Actually here, I missed that I can go rook takes first, and after this, I would have this. Which is actually, yeah, of course that would be winning. That's what I missed. But g4, I thought, very nice move. It's the best move. And it looks like it weakens the king, but in reality, h3 will just come. Like, for example, here, if he tries to go like for queen f6 here, h3, this pawn will always be defended. This pawn will always be defended by the queen, unless he has to like sacrifice something. And now the knight literally cannot move. g4, look how bad this knight is. He took with the knight all the way back here to try to defend the pawn. The pawn is still under so much pressure. All of his pieces are revolved around protecting it, and the knight can't even move anywhere. It can't move here. It can't move there. It can't move over here, because it's gonna get taken. This is like, just I've like completely eliminated all of the counterplay for my opponent. And now after rook to e5, I isolate this pawn. It cannot even move anymore. And queen f6, d5. And if he goes here, h3 once again. Now the queen isn't here, so he can't really take, because then I'm gonna take. And after rook c6, rook c8, he kind of catches me off guard here, because after d takes e6, he plays rook c1, and here I'm, whoa. Because first I didn't see what the point of this move was, but I realized his idea is after takes, he's going to trade, but I realized that I can just go queen e3. And if he takes the pawn, I'm going to push, and after like knight here, I'm going to be able to go bishop a4, and I'm going to just be completely winning. If he, like here, for example, comes back, still, I'm going to be completely winning, right? Because after takes, I'm going to get, like, the queen here. And, for example, after this, I'm just going to go here. And I'm going to force him to do this. Now, I'm not even going to go queen d8. I'm just going to, like, play an improving move, like king here, he can't do anything. He can't really trade either because I'm just going to be in a completely winning pawn endgame. So I realized that that's going to be completely winning. And I also realized that in this endgame, I'm just going to be up 3 pawns. I'm going to be able to bring my king. And I immediately see a win because I think that he has to go 98. And after that, I push, king comes closer, and bishop. And this ultimately happens in the game. And here, what ends up happening furthermore is my opponent goes here, and I just simply decide to take and go into this winning pawn endgame. I also thought that, yeah, that's what happens. And obviously I'm just completely winning here. I bring my king up. Even if he goes like with some move like this here, I'm just gonna be able to like move my king, attack the pawn, and ultimately how this game ends is we just go over here and we completely win the game. My opponent resigns. Now, a weird thing about this game review is it says my accuracy is 91.5 when it loads. It's gonna say my accuracy is like 91.5, which is or 91.6, which is completely different than what it said on my phone when I first analyzed this game on my phone. And my phone said 95.4, so I don't know. I think I had like probably a different stockfish on my computer, but whatever. We played this game once again almost perfectly. We had 1 in accuracy, and it's a really good game. I think I'm playing very well ever since I started playing long-form chess again. And I'll probably upload another video on Tuesday. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.